Welcome once again, everybody, to another special Vancouver Canucks B&B Hockey Talk Friday edition. I'm Aaron Blocks with my co-host, Mr. Matt Balzer. Man, I know we want to talk about Luke Shen, but real Canuck fans, they're all wanting. Everybody's been talking about number 43, Quentin Hughes, who made his NHL debut last night, and the hype is real. I mean, the fans could see it. I just heard that tomorrow's game looks like it's sold out, and it's almost impossible to find tickets now for it because everybody wants to go and see the kid because he's the real deal. What did you think of his debut, and what stood out for you?
Yeah, it was freaking awesome to to see him. Like it was great because I got to see him live, thankfully, back around at the World Juniors in one of the exhibition games against the Czech Republic, and to see him play there and to watch him make his NHL debut, and basically his play was just the same. It's basically a seamless transition into the NHL. Wasn't hesitant. The way he was able to break out of his own zone. Rush up the ice. The assist that he had, that is such a crazy move to bank it off the back of the net, lose the guy, and then bring it out, and then a nice finish there by Besser. And then of course the overtime where we had Pedersen, Besser, and Hughes all together. It's like as soon as overtime was about to start, it's like that's all everybody was waiting for those three guys to get out on the ice, and they absolutely dominated.
And the cool thing about it, too, is Demko was in net last night, so they had four guys under the age of 20. Well, I mean, Demko's, 24, I think. But the other three guys, 20, 19, and 19, just insane how young those four guys on the ice are. And, I mean, we're looking at the future of the Vancouver Canucks right now. Mm-hmm. And, as my one of my good friends from the UK that went to the game last night, he said he doesn't know a whole lot about hockey, but he said, "Oh, that Hughes kid, I don't know if he's 5 or 35, but he skates sweetly."
that's like the one thing, because like outside of like Troy Stetcher and like Hutton to a certain degree, like we don't have a whole lot of like super mobile defensemen that can go end to end the way Hughes can. That's the next big thing, is to get him on that first power play unit. That'll be the next big thing to get him there. But yeah, it was just so nice to see a Canuck defenseman do what he can do out there. Just because we've never had really a defenseman like that, and if everything works out, he could be the best Canuck defenseman in franchise history.
Well, and the thing I liked about him is, he got an assist. He made a heck of a play, passing himself off the net. But that was just one of a few plays that he did. Obviously, that one was the one that stood out. But in the third period, he seemed to get a little bit more ice time and joined the rush a few times, backdoor. And, they would try to get the Pedersen line out with him. And it just generated a lot of offense. And you could see, his shot and even his passes are rockets. Like there's a lot of speed behind them, and he's making sure they're hard to, he just moves the puck so nicely. He skates well. I remember there's one time he rushed up the ice. He was kind of leading the rush. Somebody gave it away after he made a pass, and he skated back so fast that he was one of the first guys back even before the puck could get there, right? So It's just so nice to see that there's a player like that that's actually on the Canucks. I was showing some of the highlights of the game or some of the Quinn Hughes highlights to a big Toronto Maple Leafs fan today, and he just looked at me and he goes, "We got Mitch Marner, but we ain't got a young guy like that on the back end." He goes, "The Canucks this is a young man's game," and he goes, I'd hate to see them in the playoffs because they might get broken in half, but he goes, they've got some really sweet-looking players, and he said as Canuck fans, we should be happy with what they've got.
Well, he might be selling Morgan Riley a little short there with the season that he's had, but yeah, it is nice to finally have a true offensive.
This guy's a diehard Leafs fan, and he loves Marner to death. Calls him his Dougie Gilmore. He's an older guy that just loves the Leafs, but calls Marner as Dougie Gilmore, but just prays that they trade Nylander and or Austin Matthews as soon as possible, because he goes, you can't win with guys like them in the playoffs.
I'll take Austin Matthews.
He's okay. Matthews, he's okay with. He hates Nylander though, so just mostly because of the contract, I think. So.
Oh yeah. Well, enough,
But
enough
hey, so
about the Leafs.
The Canucks have some pieces
Yeah.
now. They have some pieces. They just have to. What goes on from here, is going to really now's the critical time to fill in the rest of the roster, get the right pieces in to support these, the core that they have, and they're going to get another piece this draft for sure. Somebody like Bowen Byram, or if they're lucky enough and trade up and get Quinton's brother Jack. I mean, that would be unreal, obviously. And maybe it's just a pipe dream, but hey, you never know, right? Maybe they get Capo Cac. What's his name? I want to call him Capo.
Capo Caco. And
Capo. And you don't know. Like one more piece like that could be absolutely unreal. You got some of these other guys that are developing. Bertanen, Gadet, I think are only going to get better. I think Stetcher and Hutton can definitely add to that young core. You got Markstrom playing the way he is. The team's starting to shape up.
Yeah, I still think they're a few bigger pieces away from getting there. Especially I think the big thing is to reset their secondary forwards this offseason and to try to get a big piece this offseason, either a top end defenseman or a top six forward, or and in my case both would be great. But yeah, talking about that Canuck defense, we had Alex Edler. He passed Matthias Olin for the franchise lead for most goals by a defenseman with his 94th. And also with that was his 10th goal of the season. And this is the first time Alex Edler has gotten to double digits in goals since 2011, 2012 in that season, which was his career year where he had 11 goals and 49 points in that season. But the biggest thing is still the injuries. But I wouldn't mind, I think Ben Hutton, I think he's had a decent season, but maybe in the off season, it would be a defenseman that I would look to try to trade, either to help get a forward up front, or go over to try to get a right-handed defenseman and help the right-hand side. Because if you're bringing back Edler, you got Hughes, Juolevi. I'm really intrigued to see how he does next season. Maybe get a spot there. But
I'm curious if Tanev maybe is on the block with, a guy like Hutton, and maybe they don't re-sign Edler. I'm kind of curious which direction they're going to go. Because the six they had last night, I mean, if you took Viega out of the lineup and had Tanev with Edler, Stetcher and Hutton, and Shen and Hughes, I would be quite happy with that as a sixth defenseman on my team.
Well, except for the
assuming
fact that
you're healthy, of course.
Yeah, I was gonna say except Tanev's gonna be on injured reserve for half the season, and Edler will be on injured reserve for probably a quarter of the season. But if healthy, that would be good. But yeah, Tanev would be another guy I would look to move. Luke Shen, I think, is playing himself into a contract extension if he can get him on a nice cheap deal with the way that he's been playing. It's the physicality that he brings.
Would you sign him for 1 year?
Oh yeah. If you can get him on a nice cheap deal, under $1 million or something like that, because I don't think he'll be that expensive this off season, unless of course you're Jim Benning, you'll probably end up paying him $2 million or something like that with all the deals. But I would love to bring him back because if you look at Lucas Spiza, Erica Branson, these defensemen that they brought in and paid a big price to get and to bring physicality and stand up for their teammates. Both of those guys didn't work out. And Luke Shen, in the 14 games that he's played with the Canucks, he's done everything those guys cannot on a consistent basis, and he's been pretty decent defensively. He even had that nice scoring chance in the first period where Beagle set him up on a shorthanded rush. And then overtime, he was big on that penalty kill to finish out overtime. Had a huge block there. And it was actually a nice pairing partner for Quinn Hughes in that entire game as well. So I've really enjoyed what he's done so far in the Canuck jersey.
Yeah, same as myself. A few of the other supporting players, I talked about Gaudette and Virtanen and some of the young guys. I'd be curious to see what they do. Like we said, maybe they move Tanev, maybe they move Hutton, maybe they move both, right? Maybe they don't re-sign Edler. There's a lot of things they can do on that back end. Because a guy like Sautner, I've been really impressed with. But you do have other veteran supporting players too, like Barchi, Pearson, Roussel. I mean, those three I just named right there are all they're all left wingers, I think. And then you got Beagle and Sutter in the middle. I think you have to move a couple of these pieces as well if you're gonna make room for some more depth players, or just to kind of get the consistent lines. Like, is Goldobin going to be here next year? Right? There's a lot of players there that it'll be interesting to see what they do. Ryan Spooner's another name that comes to mind. I actually didn't mind. Ryan Spooner looked pretty good last night. He brings a lot of speed to the game. I don't think he can get into the spot that Tyler Mott's in, though, but I'm constantly impressed with Tyler Mott's game. By the way, did Mott play last night? I don't recall seeing him.
No, he's he got injured in the Columbus game. I believe he left with an upper body injury, so he's been out for the past couple of games.
Yeah, and of course, Granlund's my favorite guy to go with Pouliot on the defense. I could care less if either of those guys came back next year.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that I move. Like Berchi, I think, is a guy. Like, as much as I love Berchi, he's always hurt. He's another one of those guys that's always hurt. So I would look to actually move him in the offseason, try to get maybe like a mid-round draft pick or try to weaponize him in a bigger trade. Because what I always love is what Jason Botcher brings up. It's the Canucks have a whole sea of Granlunds on the team, which is about like the same type of player. Like if you look at Eriksson, Granlund, Spooner, Pearson, Beagle, like all like these guys that are sort of like the same type of player. You got to move some of these guys out and try to reshape the team. And another thing that I always love that Jason Botcher brings up is the Canucks need an army to fix their team. It's just like they're not one or two players away. They need another like 5 or 6 impact players to come in. And then they'll really be a true contender. And they do have some of those pieces already, but they need to keep moving and trying to make moves. Especially this offseason is going to be huge, because another thing that keeps getting brought up is weaponizing your cap space. Like if you look at some bad contracts out there and teams that will be in a tight cap spot this offseason, you got Tampa Bay, where you have like that Ryan Callahan contract. Winnipeg has a Dmitry Kulikov contract. And these are all teams, like Tampa Bay has Braden Point that they got to re-sign. Winnipeg has Lane, Connor, Trouba, all those guys that they got to re-sign. So if you could take on Kulikov and get in like a nice prospect like that, I think that is something that the Canucks can do because right now they have the cap space this offseason to do that. It's just that
depends if Luongo retires, right?
yeah, and the Luongo situation. I'm hoping it just ends up being like the long-term injured reserve thing, because maybe he could pull it off with like his bad hip, or maybe like a bad hip or a bad groin or something.
Well, I wanna echo what Luongo said when he was here in Vancouver. Is I hate my contract. Because I mean that's a contract. It looks like if he doesn't play next year and retires, I mean it's about a $2.5 million cap hit on the Canucks salary cap, which is huge. That's a lot of cap being taken up by a player that hasn't even played here in years.
And the big thing is if he continues to play and he still has 3 years left on his contract, and in that third year if he does retire, I think the Canucks get hit with like an $8.5 million cap penalty if he does retire that year, and especially when Pettersson, Besser, Hughes, like all these guys are going to be having their new contracts. That's a whole lot of money that you really need to re-sign those guys, because Pettersson, like the way he'll be trending, he'll probably be around like that 10 million mark, most likely. Besser will probably be like in that $7 to $8 million range.
I don't know if Pettersson's going to get that much out of the gate. I mean, he's got one season under his belt. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, obviously he's got 2 more seasons before they even have to re-sign him, but I think Besser is potentially going to be in the $6.5, $7 million range. I
Mm.
can't see them paying him a whole lot more than that because, I mean, he's only had 2 seasons. He's been hurt both seasons. It'd be nice to get a full season. And I mean, his hand, for goodness sake, his wrist is still taped from back early last season. And I don't know if that's just a superstitious now or if his hand's still bothering him or his wrist is still bothering him. But I think it's still bothering him a little bit because he's still not shooting 100% like he did last year, although he is getting points.
Yeah, because I was looking like his rookie season. He had the 29 goals, 55 points in 62 games, and this year he has 26 goals, 54 points in 65 games. So production-wise, it's basically been about the same. It's just that he hasn't had like that. Well, with the goal scoring, he hadn't had like that dominant stretch like he had last year, where he was just ripping it up like every game, and it wasn't just the goals; it was how he was scoring
Yeah.
those goals. It was just
I think he misses Vanek and the Sedins for sure.
Yeah, that would do something. But like, I still think Thomas Vanek was pretty underrated for how the Canucks did last year. Like
He
even
got
like their
20
power
goals
play.
this year. He got 20 goals in Detroit so far. So
And like even like the Canucks power play with like all their struggles, I still think Thomas Vanek, I think he still had like something to do with how they improved that year. And like this year, it's just like you're thinking before the year, it's like, oh, we have Pettersson on the right side and Besser on the left side. Horvat, Edler was going to be decent, and then we'd have like this crazy good number one power play unit, and it hasn't really worked out this year, unfortunately. But
here's a fun game for you. So Edler passed Olin last night for most goals by a Canucks defenseman. If you were starting a franchise, would you take Olin or Edler?
ooh, that's tough because if we're taking both players in their primes, and
In their prime. Take them
okay,
in their prime.
man, that is really tough because Alex Edler, like in his prime and before his back injury too, he was a pretty dominant defenseman, especially like in the playoff time. Like Olin, like I still remember him, but like when I truly started getting into the Canucks was like
I
it was
think
like the first
Olin
year.
I would take before his eye injury. He was
Yeah.
absolutely dominant. He was a physical force. And he was
Because
good offensively and defensively.
yeah, because
That
like I
was my favorite defense pairing back in the day was Olin and Murray Barron.
it was so good because like if you want to go offensively, like man, if Sammy Salo, like if he was able to stay healthy, like because like he was up there, but like people bring up Jurke Lume because I was listening to TSN 1040 and they were doing a poll question on who was the greatest Canuck defenseman in franchise history, and Lume was brought up a lot, but that was before my time too. So
Lume was unreal. Definitely, I would take Lume before Edler. If it was Edler or Jovanovski, who would you take?
ooh. I'm a big Jovo fan. Like I know he had his injuries too and stuff, but when Jovo was on his game, he was fun to watch.
Edler or Salo?
Ooh,
Again, in their prime.
I would Sammy Salo, man. Like to like when he was healthy, I would take him. The shot that he had, the way he was able to elevate his defense partners. Like we talk about like Alex Edler or Christian Ehrhoff, like all those guys that he played with, especially Edler. He was able to elevate his defense partners, and yeah, and of course it's just like I brought it up just now, but that shot, man, like when he was able to.
I would love it if the Canucks can find somebody with a shot still like that. I mean, in '94 when they went to the finals, they had Jeff Brown. They had, when they went to the I don't even know who they had in the finals in '82. But I mean, when they almost beat the eventual Stanley Cup champions Calgary when they lost in 7, they had Paul Reinhart and Robert Nordmark running their power play. They both had great slap shots. Lume never had a really good slap shot, but he was a great playmaker. And then Jeff Brown came in '94, like I said. He had the cannon. Sammy Salo had the cannon in 2011. I don't know if Quinn Hughes has the cannon, but it's sure his passes sure look a lot harder than most of the defensemen's. And a couple of his shots that I saw last night were too shabby. So
Yeah, because the one defenseman that I think I brought up last week's episode, like Colin Miller with the Vegas Golden Knights, because with Mark Stone's contract extension, they'll need to re-sign William Karlsson also this offseason. So they're actually going to be pretty close up to the cap. Like if you could try to pry Colin Miller out of Vegas, because I think he finally got back into the lineup, I think, the last couple of games after being a healthy scratch. But this is a guy that had 10 goals, 41 points last year. He has a huge shot, and he's a right-handed defenseman too, and he's still relatively young and has a good cap hit. Yeah, that's like another thing. If you could take on a bad contract from Vegas as well, this is where I wish we could have had, like, we kept Dolan or whatever to sort of sweeten the deal with something going
I'd
back.
still love Dante Fabro out of Nashville. Nice,
Yeah, but of course,
good two-way.
yeah, but of course he signed with Nashville this week,
Well,
unfortunately.
Nashville now can trade him. That's perfect.
Yeah. There is that, but man, I'll be interested to see what they do with PK Subban, because he's had a pretty down year. Like, I know he had a couple of injuries and stuff, but he has not been himself like he has the past few years.
Maybe Nashville's gearing up for the playoffs. Canucks are not mathematically eliminated yet, but we know that they're not going to be making the playoffs. If they had a choice of a forward or a defenseman, what would you rather see them take in the draft?
Well, I think it's always the best player available, because I know, going back to the Ole Levy pick or whatever, because I know the Canucks badly needed a defenseman in their prospect.
Matt Tkachuk would look nice in a Canucks uniform right now.
Yeah, especially now when we're looking for that top line left winger to play with somebody. Tkachuk would be great, but like,
imagine if Tkachuk was playing on a line with Pettersson and Besser right now.
Oh man, it'd be so good. But yeah, it's like if you're not getting like the top two picks in Hughes or Kakko, because Kakko, man, some of the stuff that he's done in the playoffs, because I think I put that gif on that one shift that he had in the playoffs where he's just running over like three guys and then drives the net. I think he actually just got eliminated in the playoffs today, so his season's going to come to an end. But maybe he'll play for Finland at the World Championship, so we'll get to see him there. But because if we get in like that 6-7 spot or whatever, and if Byram is there, that would be the guy I would take. I'd still have to look at some of the other guys, because like I know there's the Russian winger Podlitskin or something like that.
I think Byram right now is in the 5th slot by most people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
Hughes was in the 3-4 slot last year, and we got him at 7th. So,
well, hey man, the Coyotes passed on him to draft Barrett Hayton or whatever. I still can't believe they passed up on Zadina and Hughes to draft Hayton. That's just another thing to
Hayden's played more games than both of them, so
mm-hmm.
I believe he played 9 games already for Arizona this year.
No, actually, I don't think he played a game. I think he was on the roster or whatever to start the season, but I don't think he got into a game, and then they sent him back to junior. Because I think he would have only gone like the 9 game, because I know the Red Wings called up Zadina for a little bit, and then they only played him 9 games, not so he wouldn't burn off the first year of his contract or entry level contract.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Final thing to wrap up today: Demko and Markstrom. Do you see the Canucks moving forward with both of them, and would you be happy if next year, if they continue to play the way they've been playing?
Yeah. So my big thing would be to keep playing Demko, get him in as many games as possible. I think some people have brought up like Markstrom's 2 games away from 60, and he might be pushing Green to just to get into those 2 games. So there's 4 games left. If Markstrom gets into 2, hopefully Demko gets into the others. But like they're all going to be tough games, because I think it's like Dallas, San Jose, Nashville, and St. Louis to finish the season. But the more games Demko gets, the better off he'll be for next year. Especially right off the start of the season. Like you want to have trust in both of your goalies, because if you look at the Canucks backup goalies records over the past few years, especially like this year, I think they've only had like 5 wins or whatever this year. It's like imagine like if the Canucks actually had like a confident backup that could play get at least like 500. you'd be in a bit of a different position at least going into March.
And Markstrom at least has had a fantastic season since December 1st. So,
and also he was nominated.
Yeah, he was nominated for the Masterton Trophy, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he was nominated for Masterton Trophy, which is perseverance and comeback player on your team. I think he persevered with Derek Pouliot in front of him all season long.
Oh, you could say the entire Canuck defense.
Yeah, I mean, all 13 defense now just for the Canucks this season. But the future is bright, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing. A healthy Canucks team, I think, would still be very competitive and good right now, but they still are a few steps away and some depth away. And so I'd be curious to see what they do here in the offseason. Final word, Matt, before we end today's show.
Yeah, so only 6 games on the NHL schedule today, so I'll have all the top highlights out tonight for all those games. The Columbus Blue Jackets picked up a huge win against the Montreal Canadiens last night, and that basically sinks Montreal's chances just because Columbus has a better schedule.
You never know, though. You never know. There's weirder things that have happened. And Carolina's only 1 point up on those 2 teams.
Yeah. And the surge has come to an end.
Yes.
I couldn't believe it. But yeah. If you missed that, Justin Williams tweeted out that the Hurricanes will no longer be doing those choreographed celebrations at the end of their games. But we will touch that more on that on Monday. But yeah, all the top highlights will be out and over the weekend as well. Make sure, I believe the Canucks are playing Dallas tomorrow night. So if you didn't see Quinn Hughes' season debut yesterday, make sure to tune in tomorrow and make sure you get to watch him, because he'll be a treat to watch over hopefully like the next 15 plus years.
I hope he continues to play like he did the other night. So thanks again, everybody, and have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday with our Around the NHL segment. And enjoy all the hockey that might be going on in your life.